Back to PACE. We're back again for some Super Mario Odyssey content. Chaos versus Nicro coming your way.
Oh boy.
Immediately, very exciting matchup in Q.
I don't really even care about who. I mean, I do care who makes it to the finals, but I wanted to see this matchup regardless,
Absolutely.
regardless of the outcome.
Yes.
So this is going to be pretty sick.
Me too. It doesn't matter who comes out on top in this one. It's just a battle of titans, and I think it's going to be an excellent showcase for you guys at home. Obviously, Chaos and Nicro both have kind of respective heavyweight titles under their belt, with the first sub-hour, the first 100, and obviously the Chaos being the world record holder as we speak. So obviously going to be an incredibly good matchup to watch here. And, you know, we might even see some pop-offs here. I think the best race time that we've seen here at PACE has been that 1:00:21 from Chaos in the very first round. And who knows, we might actually see something quite like that, and maybe even better in this particular matchup.
Absolutely. Chaos has been performing pretty well
Indeed.
throughout this this group stage here. Getting a low 1-0, I think at 23, and like a 1:04x.
That's
so
right.
Pretty solid times from Chaos. Now Nicro has been playing pretty well as well. Maybe not as well as his top performance level would usually be, but definitely super close race against Curbs yesterday. And this one will be just as exciting. We'll see if he's going to be able to get one of his top times. Maybe he's going to bust out the A game. And can't wait for this one. And we are already on our way. NicroVeda versus Chaospringle here at PACE 2019.
Now, NicroVeda has kind of suffered some unfortunate circumstances. Both of his races have been extremely close. It's just been a matter of not being able to edge out quite over his opponent. Meanwhile, Chaos has kind of been dominating the scene and really taking his matches by storm. So NicroVeda really going to have to dial down and focus in and try and snatch that win from Chaos.
Yeah, definitely got some decent points overall. Even if he was to win, it would definitely be a pretty close standing overall. Chaos, pretty heavy favorite here to be the second, obviously, final contender. Not actually getting his spin point off the start. And this is actually what I was talking about previously in the interview here with Straf. Sometimes even a small mistake like that might actually throw you off throughout the run because, like, oh, I'm not playing well right now. Nicro also almost not actually skipping that cutscene correctly. I'm not sure if he was trying to go for the spin point there. This usually happens when you like spin your stick trying to go for the spin point after the cutscene. Not a big deal. It's actually not going to be getting that first-person camera, which you actually see really well how much of a time loss this is. Chaos's bridge coming out of the fog way quicker.
Yeah, but it all has to do with where the camera needs to be in order to initiate that cutscene to start. But yeah, you're absolutely right about that. It's not necessarily that those little things are detrimental on their own, but you kind of get yourself into a mental headspace as a result of those things and kind of snowball from there.
Yeah, right here in the frog room. I actually have seen in that last race how much these frog vectors matter that these guys are doing here, kind of turning this frog in this 45-degree angle. Stravos Curbs actually last race really taking a lead in that room. Doesn't look like that's going to be enough for Nick to make up any time here. Chaos getting that left side trick. Nicro is going to be able to do the same though, getting into the topper fight.
Yep, nailing down that left side trick. A little bit of a trick jump that saves a couple of seconds over taking the intended ramp up the side on the other way. But NicroVeda just a little bit more fumbling through the beginning part of Cap Kingdom, and Chaos is going to be coming out ahead here.
And we will still be seeing these guys obviously go for the first moonskip. Who knows what the future brings? Maybe it is an obsolete trick in the future with 1.3 being a potentially faster version. Still getting confirmation of that and accurate timings. Once again, we did decide this will be played on 1.0, so we will be going for all of the tricks we can to save that extra time.
Absolutely. And just for consistency's sake, obviously these runners have been practicing very hard and very thoroughly on the 1.0 route and all of the tricks that come along with it, and it would be kind of unfair for us to change the rules based on what version was the fastest. So these guys are going to be playing on 1.0 through the remainder of this tournament.
Around a 3-second lead here for Chaos coming into this kingdom. Both of them are going to be opting for the wall jumpless version of the first moonskip. Nicro barely making it below that invisible wall, staying in there. And Chaos obviously also with some fancy movement towards that dino, capturing that one optimally, making their way towards Madame Brood.
First, have to do this dino skip though. Chaos's setup looks pretty good. Basically just jumping up over the top of the stage and diving just into the boundaries of this boss fight.
Both of them getting this one just fine. We have actually not seen many flaws here in that Madame Brood fight. The only one really coming out of Curbs yesterday in one of the races where he didn't get the fast hit. But these guys performing very well so far.
gathering up these coins in front of Madame Brutal just to, you know, create a little bit of a buffer for the coins. We do need 200 in the route, of course, to buy some shot moons along the way, and every little bit does help.
Especially the ones that you can get without losing time.
Certainly.
Those ones obviously being completely free because we can't do anything in that time where Madame Brutal is kind of recovering from her being hit. Chaos going for the roll cancel jump into the moon. Nicro opting for the long jump, potentially a fraction of a second slower, but very, very easy to get.
Certainly. And both having very similar Cascade Kingdoms into the beginning here.
Actually 2 seconds only now, so it looks like Nicro might have made up some time during that dino skip section, it looked like.
Yeah, potentially just cleaner lines from Nicro's part in this beginning.
But let's not underestimate, we should never do that, the end section here of Cascade. Nicro actually having some issues yesterday on that first moon here. I mean, it's technically the fourth, the one we get after the boss fight. Chaos taking an interesting line there very far to the left. It's going to be getting that moon just fine though. Nicro is able to do the same, but chest clip has been the detrimental trick here at the end. I've seen a bunch of misses here before. I like the position that Chaos is in. Is actually not going to clip though, so this is, oh yeah, definitely. Chest clip coming in huge again. Nicro is going to be taking the lead of that. This sometimes doesn't work because especially on that right side, the ceiling is actually made up of multiple ceilings, and if you do want to clip that, you need to clip through all of them. If you don't, those will push you back in bounds. And that's what happened to Chaos. Nicro in a little bit of a better position actually, and able to get the clip.
It's a very strange trick indeed, because you do get that very, very intense capture warp where Mario kind of shoots up through the ceiling, but even in a particularly bad spot, sometimes you just come right back in, and it can be frustrating to deal with and unpredictable sometimes.
All right, taking this lead into Sand Kingdom now. Actually going to be looking at this fast action guide skip again, which has been something in these tight races to really look out for. This fast tech skip happening sometimes if you actually get a according mashing. And let's look at this one here. After the screen fades into black, we'll see how fast the tech skip takes a little bit of a while here for Nicro. Chaos actually a little bit faster here, so might make up some time.
Yeah, you can see Chaos is very satisfied with that kind of advantage, being able to get a free second back on Nicro.
Here we go, starting off Sand. Nicro opting for the normal roll. Chaos actually going to be doing the same. In these specific places, it's really hard to actually save time with a spin pound, and you can easily miss a spin pound. So I actually can appreciate them to go for this normal roll here. And Chaos is actually going to be missing his roll into the pipe, also not getting the pipe suck, which we get by ground pounding or rolling into the pipe. Chaos actually a little bit off here on his dive as well, hopefully not affecting him too much. Nicro building his lead here.
And again, kind of playing into just like keeping the mentality under check. You know, these mistakes are not huge. They will not lose a whole lot of time, but Sand Kingdom is one kind of tricky thing after another, and keeping it under wraps is really going to be important coming in.
Nicro is going to be missing that ground pound on top of the dune here once. This moon is actually not on the very top of the dune, even though that's the name of the moon. It is slightly off the center. Once again, an intention of the game, using that rumble feature to actually find the moon there.
We do have a pretty good sense of where it is just from feel, but it can be kind of tricky to locate regardless.
But the Dram Strat coming up now for both of these guys. Pretty big trick in Sand. Looks pretty good for Nicro. Is going to be getting that one. Chaos also looking clean. Should be fine and gets it as well.
Looking very solid. And obviously getting these quick moons before we make our way into the Sphinx clip area.
Now, if we remember these stat cards, actually Chaos and Curbs both with the best percentage when it comes to getting Sphinx clips. So Chaos is really, really solid at this trick. Back in the day when Nicro was actually grinding pretty heavily for that sub 1 time, Sphinx clip used to be one of the big tricks that really messed with him. It seemed like he couldn't get past it really well. Actually, also going to be missing his first clip once. Hopefully being able to get it again. Chaos is going to be getting the Sphinx clip immediately and actually taking the lead after Nicro misses it twice.
And a little bit of shaky movement entering this Sphinx room as well. Going to be shaking to grab as many coins as he can before leaving. But the second clip is upcoming here. Chaos with a perfect execution, nice. And Nicro right behind him.
Very nicely done. Both of them still very close here, but lead did change. Chaos in the lead right now due to the first clip especially. But they both are looking at a very nice timing here for that bird. They shouldn't have any issues here unless they make a major mistake, such as missing Jaxi skip. But if that happens, I think they have bigger issues than the bird.
They certainly do. That instant death poison hanging underneath. We haven't seen a Jaxi Skep death in this Final Four group stage, but it is PACE, and anything is possible.
See if Chaos is going to be able to get this one, gets the wall jump off. Nicro is going to be able to do the same. Both of them grabbing the moon and the chest quite nicely, looking at less than 3 seconds of difference here that Chaos is leading by rolling across the desert, going towards that cactus.
Just a little bit of a lead shift in Sand Kingdom, and a little bit of cleaner lines on Chaos's part, and of course that Sphinx Clip did really make a difference. Nicro giving away his lead with that first try Sphinx Clip.
Now rolling towards that Oasis, let's see. According to Dangers, this bird should at least be in Argentina. Might even be in South Africa, actually. For Nicro, at least, it looks like.
Absolutely miles away.
Very nice. Actually looking like, yeah, around a 2-second difference here. As Chaos actually misses that spin point going towards nodes. So these nodes will actually be very interesting. If any of these guys do get the one spin for nodes, and Chaos is actually not going to be able to do so. And that makes Nicro, I think, actually taking the lead right here. It's extremely close. Looks like Nicro has a little bit of a lead grabbing that moon.
So very close. Obviously very ideal movement here, diving off of the top of the palm tree and rolling your way through the dunes and back to the Odyssey.
Another lead change happening in Sand. So Nicro initially leading when getting into this kingdom. Chaos taking the lead throughout Sphinx, but Nicro getting it back in the Oasis. But still extremely close. I mean, look at those sails filling.
Within a second of each other, going into Lake Kingdom. And now Nicro's runs, like I said, he hasn't been playing terribly. It's just been a circumstance of just not being able to edge out his opponent as we get into the end. And we're only a second apart here.
If even, yeah, crazy stuff. Now getting into Lake, which obviously is host of the Lake clip. Nicro, we did say this a couple times during the regular season and the playoffs for this event. Actually, one of the very first people to integrate this clip into runs. It was known as this probably not RTA friendly trick. Chaos actually making up some time here on meshing, it seems like. Yeah, we are actually wow, we actually even right now. Chaos, the meshing master.
And we are entering Lake Clip on a sync.
Looks like Nicro might have had a little bit of a cleaner line there towards that moon. I'm not sure if Chaos can still get the vault right here. Kippy was out for a little bit too long, it seemed like, but still making that work extremely close around here. Capturing that zipper almost in sync. Lake Clip is going to be huge here. Whoever gets this first is going to be in the lead for sure, obviously.
Yeah, their setup is going to be very, very important. Whoever can kind of line themselves up against the wall and get Cappy through and themselves through as fast as possible. Really going to take the lead here. And
Nicro is so good at this.
Extremely clean setup. Chaos taking just a couple extra tries, but he is in the wall as well.
Very nice. Both of them grabbing that checkpoint. That's obviously the crucial part. You can clip as much as you want. If you miss that up throw, it's all for nothing. But Nicro with the lead here, getting that first try. He's extremely good at this clip.
And we have actually seen that kind of unfortunate circumstance in the league in the past. Missing the checkpoint means that you basically just have to go around the kingdom the old way, the way that Stravos does, but obviously having tried the Lake Clip is going to lose you some time.
Switch to Joy-Cons coming in here from both of them. Are going to be able to get that down throw, and they do have enough downtime during that moon cutscene to switch back. Actually, both of them using the same timing there. Skipping controllers doing those moon cutscenes. Chaos having some issues right here with the controller. I'm not sure if he's still on Joy-Cons right now. I hope he was able to switch.
That was very strange. His controller just wasn't reacting.
Hopefully something that we can resolve. Looks a little bit shocked right now. Let's see.
A bit of technical difficulties. It did look like he switched back to the Joy-Cons. He might have them working, or his Pro-Con rather, in working order again. But did just take a little bit to respond. Very strange.
Yeah, looks like he is on Pro-Con again. But Nicro obviously now building his lead a little bit further. Actually lost some time there on the initiation of talking with the NPC. Looks like he is trying to still switch things up. Hopefully being able to resolve that issue as soon as possible. Yeah, looks like he did get that throw in. Probably disconnecting the Joy-Cons right now. Yeah, okay. Looks like we're fine.
And now that the Joy-Cons are disconnected, we probably will not have any connectivity issues anymore. But Nicro leaving Lake Kingdom at a 13:08. Of course, an OX pace coming out of Lake is a pretty solid early game. These guys at sub-hour paces are kind of looking at just a sub-13-minute time. So this is very solid from Nicro still. Chaos not trailing by very much at all. And it is still early. Anything can happen.
Yeah, Nycro definitely making up a big amount of time in lake through this lake clip section, not only because of that connectivity issue, but also because of a faster lake clip. But going into Wooded, and we've seen actually the proof for once, last race, still actually both times Curbs unfortunately getting hit quite hard by this kingdom, but it is still a big deal. A mistake does lose you so much time here. Any other mistake would probably treat you a little better, but the mistakes here really, really screw you over.
And it truly is a hard kingdom to deal with. You know, we're talking about this tilt all the way through this race and how making a little mistake can really affect the mood of your kind of progression through the game. This kingdom is probably the absolute worst place for that to happen. If you make one small mistake, that tilt carries all the way through a very, very tough kingdom to move through, and it can be very hard to recover from.
Nycro playing really well so far, is going to be opting for that tree route. Chaos is going to be doing the same once again. I did mention earlier that these two guys trust in this route. They play well enough to usually save time, but Nycro getting a decent boost at the start. You can actually get a little bit of faster uproot movement depending on where you start your first boost. Chaos also, that first one looked pretty good, gets there with 2 boosts and should be saving some time over that story moon. But Nutclip is obviously going to be the detrimental part of this kingdom. Nycro now coming up at it, and he really needs to get his inputs right to clip into the wall. He's playing that quite fast, and I'm actually not sure if that worked. That might have missed.
This doesn't look good.
Oh my god. Okay, that's actually going to be a huge deal. Chaos now having the chance to catch up, but obviously has to get this clip to make this work, and this looks better.
That does look all right. The shadow looks to be in the right place. He's going to be clipping through the wall.
Nycro is going to be opting for this rock clip backup, something that we have not seen. Gets it first try. This is very huge. As long as he gets the movement right now, he's definitely still in there for sure.
Very solid
close,
backup
just lined
from
it up
Nycro.
correctly. It's actually going to be at the side here, hopefully still being able to land on that ledge. Is going to grab the moon. As long as he makes it back into bounds, we should be fine still. It looks like he will make that work. Very crucial, very, very clutch backup from Nycro.
Yeah, extremely impressive play from Nycro, being able to back up, essentially getting bullied by the Wooded Kingdom all the way through that nutclip movement, and even the out of bounds. Did have to take an extra setup, but wasn't able, or didn't fall down and into the death plane like Little Curbs did earlier, so he's got to be happy with that save. It is going to put him behind, unfortunately, but he does have all the moons that he needs and is able to progress through the kingdom and give chase to Chaos with no more issues.
This might have been the 4th or maybe even 5th lead change in this race already, and we just started up here in Wooded Kingdom. Obviously now having to do the Flower Road skip here on Chaos's end after he gets that moon on the dead end here.
Both of these guys opting for the tree route, which means they will be skipping the Piranha Plant moon. Nycro grabbing that checkpoint just to be safe.
Chaos gets a long jump off that right. That's the crucial part, but actually not going to be able to get that triple jump off. He is going to opt for this vault setup to back this up, and I think he should be fine. Actually dropping quite low. I think he should still be fine. Going for the rainbow spin. Jesus, that was extremely close. Barely dodging that ledge. If he would have bonked that, this would have been big. But Nycro now super close behind him because he did get that Flower Road skip, and he's about to be around 5 seconds away from him again.
This Wooded Kingdom just topsy-turvy and really giving these runners a run for their money.
Well, this race is delivering so far pretty much what I hoped for from this specific matchup. Chaos now inside of the tower here. Not actually opting for these uproot boosts. You can kind of boost yourself from that level. And looks like Nycro gets pretty decent ones, being able to get to the nut with 2 hops. And let's see fade-outs happening here as they leave the tower. That's going to be a 17-14 for Chaos. We are definitely looking at less than 10 seconds now. Yeah, that's going to be a 22, so 8 seconds.
That is all that makes the difference between these guys. Keeping it extremely close, giving the fans what they deserve in this Wooded Kingdom.
Chaos actually opting to bounce off of that robot right there, which allows you to definitely avoid the stun lock. Nycro spamming and mashing hard enough to be able to get a little bit of a further vector. And he also dodged that stun lock. Getting into Pipe right now, these guys are extremely good at the sub room, but if you do lose time here, it's a lot.
Yes, it's all based on a cycle, and everybody kind of has their own way of making the cycle happen. But the important thing is that you do not slow down, you do not take any damage, you do not waste any time.
Oh, Chaos taking damage there. That's something I actually haven't seen. He might not get the cycle. I'm not sure if he can get the damage boost through. It's going to be taking damage again. 1 HP down right now. He cannot take damage again. That would be one of the most crucial deaths. But he is actually going to have a damage refill right here. And Nycro is going to be taking the lead back in Wooded. What is this kingdom?
Literal moon sink there, but yes, Chaospringle does have to sit through the damage animation and is going to give the lead back to Nycro as we leave Wooded Kingdom here. Very close race.
This has to be scripted.
Nobody can really predict just how this Wooded Kingdom is going to treat these guys. And, you know, they both have to be a little bit frustrated with the potential that could have been in Wooded Kingdom here. Both losing quite a significant chunk of time, but here we are sitting at about a 3-second difference here.
Here we go, Nitro getting a 47 fade out, looking at a 49 for Chaos, 2 seconds at the end of the game. Pretty much just that damage refill that came in for Chaos there at the very end. And it was actually a 2 health damage refill because he was at 1 HP, so even a little bit slower than 2 seconds potentially. But now going into Cloud Kingdom, you do not want to make a mistake here in a race like this.
Yeah, one of those kingdoms where it's essentially just an auto-scroller portion. These guys know how to take down the boss. They know what they're doing. So looking to just play it optimally, play it clean, and move on to Lost Kingdom.
See them move on here, Nitro opening that second Cloud Chaos. Is going to be doing the same with the spin throw instead. Doesn't actually make a big difference here. And both of them will be starting the Bowser fight at essentially the same time. 2 seconds apart still.
Both of them getting the optimal manipulation here, hitting Bowser 2 platforms away so that he only has to hop 1.
And both of them getting that second head grab. That's the more crucial moment. Chaos is actually going to be taking damage on Bowser. I'm not sure what is happening right there. Nitro is going to be taking a pretty big lead off of this one, maybe even up to 9 seconds. Not the worst case since Chaos was able to keep control over the heads, but a very, very uncommon mistake coming out of Chaospringle right there.
And maybe not to his benefit, avoiding the heart there. He is going to be down to 1 health, but as long as he gets this hat, he's going to be okay. Hopefully not jumping into Bowser's face again and taking damage.
Just dodge the swipe.
All he has to do is dodge the swipe and avoid the hit, and he's going to be on his way. So giving just about 8 more seconds to Nicro in this situation.
Now Nitro coming into Lost with a little bit of a lead. Now Lost Kingdom obviously very scary. Actually, Lost hasn't really caused these guys too many issues. We haven't actually ever seen in this playoff series, I guess group stage series, any Klepto triggers or any costly deaths. Just Curb struggling a little bit with that in his first race. But Nitro is going to be losing his speed here at the start. That's actually going to lose him quite a bit of time if Chaos is able to get this line optimally.
Yeah, just a little bit of problem with momentum from Nicro there, but he's able to kind of recover.
Very close now going on to that butterfly section.
These guys are only 1 moon apart, essentially.
Might see a little bit of a difference here. Nitro actually opting for that roll cancel into a dive. Chaos might just go for the long jump instead, something that's actually extremely hard to beat in terms of speed. One of the very few instances where a long jump just works perfectly.
Nicro still just maintaining his lead, playing clean through the Lost Kingdom.
Here we go onto this less scary part of the kingdom. Get those 3 moons as safe as you can, and then it's obviously time for these 2 last moons, being that cage moon and the bridge moon. Easy chances to mess them up, and if you mess up there and die without getting those moons, you have to do some very awkward stuff, actually re-trigger Klepto to be able to get access to them.
And Nicro, the first one to try this cage triple, setting himself up very nicely, coming in along the side
Barely
and ducking
ducking under
underneath.
there.
Very good stuff. The timing was just perfect. Chaos following suit.
He's going to be able to get it. 1 moon apart still.
And Nicro's dive out from underneath the bridge is good. Chaos going to be trying to do the same thing.
He's going to be able to get that as well. Both of them staying alive, so I'm probably looking at around 5 seconds of difference now going into Night Metro.
And really that difference just closing up a tiny bit due to Nicro not being able to get that jump off the tree at the very start the way that he wanted, but did play clean for the rest of the kingdom and is maintaining his lead here.
35 exit time here for NicroVeda, and this is looking like a 40 for Chaos. Pretty much 5 to 6 seconds of difference here going into Night Metro. That is around the time that a Mecha Wiggler fight can make immediately obsolete if you get a little bit of a bad pattern.
That's literally all it will take. And we've seen some pretty decent patterns here in this Final Four group stage. We've seen all of these runners handle the fights, and no 3 cycles yet, thankfully. But of course, anything can happen, and if they get a really nasty cycle, we just don't know what to expect.
Nitro losing a little bit of speed there on the second triple jump. Chaos playing that section a little bit better. Very nice capture there on that wire. Might have made up as close to a second there. Bouncing on the awning on 18. Chaos going to be bouncing on the awning on 22, so actually only 4 seconds right now.
Yep, closing the gap just a little bit at a time. Chaos, again, very, very consistent movement from him so far. And really showing no signs of slowing down. He's going to have to do everything that he can to kind of keep pace with Nicro here.
Very nice. Double power roll on top of that building to then make your way over to that Goomba to get that extra bounce, get some more height, skip unnecessary cap dives, because that's another like kind of long jump situation. If you can skip the cap dives and cap throws anywhere, you would end up saving some time.
Making their way through City Hall. Just have this one long jump to kind of clear the City Hall gap as they exit, which of course can be kind of scary, but these runners have done this a million times.
They really have. We have seen people actually opt for a like lower version of that long jump. You can technically long jump from that chest, but that makes that trick extremely tight and barely faster. One of the biggest risks in the game, in the run probably, would be falling right there at the top of the City Hall, having to make that climb all the way back up.
Yes, you were talking about the Metro Kingdom being one of those kind of like newbie killers as far as movement is concerned, and that City Hall jump is no exception.
He was struggling a little bit there on the first phase, missing his last shot twice. So Nick right now leading by a little more. But this pattern here will reveal who gets the better end of it, and obviously also who has the better aim to actually react accordingly. It's a little bit of a chance for Chaos to make up some time if he was to get the better pattern and the better shots out.
And there really is only one kind of good Wiggler pattern away from each other still. We're only looking at about 5 to 6 seconds of difference.
Nitro missing one shot initially, actually missing another one.
Also taking damage from the shots. Does kind of have to chase the Wiggler down.
Hopefully getting that 2 cycles still. He does get it. Chaos actually on a horrible Wiggler pattern, but reacts to it pretty well, almost missing that last shot, but overall should be around the same. Nitro really struggling on that pattern, but Chaos's pattern was absolutely awful to deal with.
Yep, there are some patterns that you just hate to see, that being one of them, but again, just about any pattern can be reacted to. He is going to be getting that 2 cycle and moving on into the day metro portion.
All right, good stuff. We are going to be able to get an update right here as that red screen fades out after the multi-moon, telling us what the difference is going into day metro, and it's like a 55 here for NicroVeda. This is going to be a 26 flat for Chaos, so 5 seconds only between these two guys going into day metro. This has been one of the most exciting races, definitely.
Yes, going back and forth, keeping really, really tightly together. It really could go either way at this point, especially with these guys and their skill levels.
Okay, let's see this capture warp here. Nitro actually taking a little long to gain access to that girder. I think he should simply find to actually get that warp, and he will, but Chaos probably made up some time here if he is also able to get that capture warp, and this is looking good. Now, scooter clip is going to be a very detrimental part of day metro. Nitro getting the drive-by strat immediately. Chaos is going to be able to do the same.
Yep, Nitro obviously going to be looking to try and maintain his lead here. Going to be playing it very, very quick. Going to try and keep ahead of Chaos as best as he can. Both of these day metros looking very flawless so far. Both of these guys are going to be absolutely demolishing the taxi cycle. Not going to have to worry about that at all.
2 bench friends being made here as they leave him and roll towards that girder, then making their way towards that musician section of the run. There was very nice speed there after he did a motion control flick of that little pole. They tend to give you a little bit more running speed afterwards. Let's see if Nitro's going to be able to get a nice thing here. Almost actually grabbing onto that. Very, very, very well reacted by him there. He could have lost his speed at all times, but he dodged all of the obstacles, keeping his speed.
Yep, had to go a little bit of a topsy-turvy route to get around everything in the streets. One of the more kind of technically difficult parts of Metro Kingdom, surprisingly enough, is just avoiding traffic. But Nitro does it just fine.
This is still extremely close now, rolling out to get access to the bassist and the scrap moon.
And you know, Nitro's lines have been just a little bit sloppier than Chaos's have been in this last part of day metro. And you can see that the gap is very, very steadily closing.
And I noticed that Nitro actually goes for a first-person strategy on that basis, which is actually not faster. What Chaos did there is actually a little quicker. The camera is going to turn anyway. And yeah, he just initiated the talk a little bit quicker that way. Both of them did do lay clips, so we won't see any cappy text or texts happening here. Very quick warp though out of Nitro. Let's see if Chaos, yeah, also a very good one as well. So let's see when Cappy touches the flag here. 26 for Nicro, 29, late 29 for Chaos. Around 3 to 4 seconds here. That is between these two runners. Chaos pretty low, but still able to get on top of that trash can pole.
And yeah, you can tell Chaos just very, very slowly making up the time. Back from Nicro. Only 5 seconds separated them out of the Night Metro portion, but we're looking at 3 now.
Coming up onto Tippy, the top of Metro Kingdom. And this spin point is actually pretty crucial. Nicro is going to be able to get that. Chaos is going to be able to get the same. So both of them playing very solid actually in Day Metro so far.
Yeah, very good play from both of these guys. Ooh,
oh, Chaos didn't get the roll on that railing. He does get a buffer jump though. That's pretty crucial because he could have gotten stun locked.
Yes, he avoided the stun lock. Is going to have to just take an extra second to do a regular ground pound. Not a big deal though in the grand scheme of things.
It's time for the crowded room here. Pushing through the crowd. Nicro is doing that successfully. Chaos also not a big deal here. This movement here sometimes can be a little bit tricky, but these guys usually have it down. Haven't really seen any big flaws here in a while. And looks like they will stick to that trend. Actually haven't checked coin counts much in the past. I remember both of them getting a decent amount from the Sphinx room. Let's see if that stays true. Actually wasn't even able to see Nicro's coin count right there. But Chaos definitely on 107. I can say that for sure. But we'll see what choices they do make. Would obviously be awesome to see them both go to snow and keep the race this close. Which obviously going to CZ wouldn't necessarily make any difference in terms of who's leading, but we wouldn't be able to see.
Most certainly. So fade out at 18, fade out at 20. We're looking at like essentially 2.5 seconds of difference here.
And it seems like it is snow time for Nicro, so I'm trusting him in his judgment there, hopefully having the coins that he needs. Once again, I do recall him getting a decent amount of that Sphinx room, so should be fine there. Now let's see, Dangers, after a pretty epic race, who treats Captain Toad better here. That might be huge, you know, like Karma coming into play potentially. Captain Toad, save the Toads, has been a motto here for us. You can save Toad without actually losing time. Let's see if they want good Karma. Nicro at 101 coins, so no big deal there. Both of them will be able to afford that shop moon.
Yeah, Chaos at 107. So we're keeping the Toad alive here. Let's see Nicro the first to approach. See if he leaves.
Oh, wow, okay, that's pretty solid Karma. Oh, Chaos, that's definitely worse. Definitely destroying this house a little more, but let's see if Nicro is also going to be able to keep that house healthy as he spin pounds back. If he's going to destroy anymore. Oh, very crucial. That Toad is probably left to freeze.
I think he's probably done for on both accounts there. Unfortunate situation. You know, we do love Captain Toad.
Cruel world.
But this is just how it has to be in the name of speed.
Okay, let's see this movement here towards that first moon curve, showing off something pretty fancy here. But looks like they will be doing the optimal, not the technical optimal version, but the one we see the most, just a dive into a triple jump, getting that moon just fine. Let's hope none of those have to deal with those ugly wall kicks down. But both of them going for the wall jumpless version here, which avoids that risk entirely. You can definitely respect that.
Now, Nicro does have the lead here, but he has infamously not been going for this wall
that's
clip.
actually going to be really interesting to see.
Chaos does look like he's going to be going through, so Nicro coming across the banister here, and Chaos instead actually just going to be diving towards
around
the
that
loading
1 second
zone.
of time save here coming out. Not those 2 seconds that people have been maybe looking at, but around 1 second of time save now for Chaos. Chaos is coming incredibly close, tends to be very good at snow, but actually going to be missing. Oh my god, just avoiding that death right there. That was super crucial. Didn't get the triple jump off of that wooden platform, but still able to stay alive. This would have been one of the most awful deaths to take.
Not only is dying going to be such a huge detrimental time loss to worry about, Chaos actually, you can see the smile on his face that,
that's Spiny actually fell, but actually losing some momentum, yeah, okay.
That kind of actually helps in his favor. You know, we try and leave one alive because it can help with the camera pan, and he kind of just had that happen accidentally, so he's kind of going to be relieved about that one, but...
Nicro once again turning the camera here, and I'm pretty sure that's just a safety measure because he hasn't actually been getting the spin pound into this pipe. Chaos also not getting this one, both of them going with a normal ground pound. I think Chaos might have even missed that pipe suck we've been talking about. But let's see how these Goombas treat those guys, because something as little as this Goomba RNG here might make a difference in a race that close. Nicro getting pretty solid. Goomba movement here. And that Goomba is very awful, actually not cooperating with Chaos at all, so he's going to be losing maybe like half a second here as the pillar was already fallen.
Not the worst RNG that I've seen with the Goombas. You can sometimes have that one very, very far off to the side, and that's not something you want to see. So he's going to be able to deal with that just fine.
But yeah, Nicro's lead definitely extending by around, it's at around 6 seconds right now, which is mainly due to that poison room.
Just missing his triple jump setup in order to get up on top of the archway in a efficient manner, but still not a big deal. We do have a lot of time left to kind of make our way through snow, and of course a very important trick coming up here.
Absolutely, and that has actually been infamously one of Nicro's demons. So hopefully being able to defeat this one. Also, I think him being the only one that has missed it at that event in his first race.
In this Final Four group stage,
would be absolutely cruel to see him miss that because it's such a big time loss. I would actually rather see them both get it and then keep the race close.
Of course, but a miss here would definitely change the lead back into Chaospringle's favor. He does have probably about 6 to 7 seconds ahead, so it would put him about 13 behind.
Nicro playing this pretty safe. Actually not getting the bounce right here. This is about the time loss that might happen here for Chaos to take his lead back barely. If Nicro does get snowed him right now on his technically first real attempt. Chaos delaying that Rainbow Spin just fine. Is going to be getting the trick. Pretty early Rainbow Spin from Nicro, but still getting it awesome stuff from these two guys. Being able to get that moon optimally and now making their... This is exactly what I wanted to see, actually. This is the best way this could have gotten really close. Now Chaos actually taking the lead back going into Seaside. Amazing.
Just like that, the lead is handed back over. Basically every kingdom, we're seeing the lead flip-flop back and forth. Very, very close race so far.
Let's see how this is going to unfold. Now going into Seaside, a kingdom that is unlikely to drastically change the lead, but we might see a little hiccup here and there, and this is definitely a chance for Nicro in that kingdom to take his lead back if there was a bonk, even a fish bonk underwater. Actually, surprisingly, I haven't seen fish bonks in so long on this top level. They used to be relatively common, especially when we still got that last moon through that little hallway, because that's probably the space where fish bonks tend to happen the most, but these guys have gotten really good at controlling the cheap.
It's true, and it just so happens that we don't even need to go into that hallway anymore, so a lot of those fish bonks are avoided. But you know, sometimes cutting the corners and going through it's a shortcut area can sometimes cause the fish bonks to happen. But yeah, you're right. At this top level, these guys kind of know their lines, and they are very optimal in Seaside and controlling this capture.
Very cool to see both of them go for that Shirane bounce right there, having Cappy close to the wall. We saw Stravos earlier go for that Cap return jump instead, but both of them opting for exactly the same strategy on that first moon. Now making their way over to the rumble on the sandy floor, obviously completely in knowledge about where that moon is.
And one more moon to gather on the land portion of Seaside. Just coming into this little hallway, grabbing this moon in this kind of pseudo 2D area, and then on their way out.
Chaos getting a little bit of a wall slide, but that's about the things that I've been talking about. We can see at the position of the robot, the binoculars right there, that Nicro already made up some time.
And a little bit of a better line over to the fish, just in general for Nicro. And while Chaos still maintains his lead, it is shrinking just a little bit here.
Let's see, even sometimes stuff like grabbing that moon here can be a pretty clutch factor. We did see Nicro, actually, I'm not sure if that might have been a fish bonk, but didn't grab that moon as fast as Chaos did, so actually losing a little bit of his advantage again, which wasn't an advantage, but he came in closer. Now let's see though, this last section can be quite big. Even clipping more optimally and getting that moon from the out of bounds section that we were talking about in the hallway, you can get that a lot faster than an average person.
And of course, that fear looming over them that they could potentially clip back in bounds
want to be
as
safe,
well.
kind of,
You have to be very, very careful there.
I agree. You still want to be kind of safe. Now Nicro able to uncover that moon here from that kelp. This is also pretty interesting because you can actually drastically clip in different speeds. Chaos taking it a little slow, swimming back very far to definitely ensure that he is going to get the clip, but I think both of them should be fine. Now Chaos' line with the cheap, maybe not too optimal. Seems like Nicro may have made up some time, but they're very good position there to grab the moon from both of them. And super fast entry into the Sphinx from
That's right, their momentum carrying them underneath where the moon is and not having to kind of clip back into the hallway. Very good stuff from both of these guys. Looks like Chaos is going to be clinging to his lead. It might have shrunk just a tiny bit from Snow Kingdom, though.
It is absolutely phenomenal, though, how close this race has really stayed. If we think about the fact that Nicro actually ended up missing Nut Clip here, and this race has been in around like a 10-second difference throughout.
Absolutely
and the lead has been
insane.
consistently changing as well. It's Chaos in the lead still here at the end of C side, but it's very, very small. Let's see what we are actually looking at.
Truly, I would expect nothing less from these guys, putting on a show for the fans.
Looking at around 3 to 4 seconds here at the end of this kingdom.
Absolutely phenomenal stuff. Seeing the banners at the exact same time still just kind of solidifies how close this run really is.
And we are heading into Luncheon. Luncheon now, while these guys have been figuring it out more and more, still is host of a couple very, very hard tricks, such as the camera manipulus Podoboo cycle. We might see both of them attempt at least that roll cancel strat of the pillar to be able to run across that island instead of having to go for a long jump. Chaos might have almost lost some height there, avoided actually failing this. Both of them getting the Soul triple jump.
The first, basically, Luncheon Kingdom scary right out of the gate. This jump is a very precise one. You kind of have to manipulate Mario's height at the very essence of the jump every single time in order to make it up there, or else you will kind of bonk and have to redo the entire jump. But both of them nailing that just fine and into the boss fight.
And even something like a cleaner Spearhead fight here might make a little bit of a difference.
When it is really this close, you can actually tell just the most minuscule differences really do kind of make a very visual impact.
There we go. Nicro and Chaos still extremely close here at the end of Spearhead, making their way to the hotter, literally hotter section of Luncheon. I've overused this pun quite a lot, but it's still relevant.
The Molten Pepto-Bismol really is a threat here. We're going to be entering a magma swamp very shortly. I always did enjoy the movement in this room coming up here. It always kind of fascinated me that we only pop in for a quick moment, get a moon that's around the corner, and then immediately leave.
Now entering the sub-room, you do want to make an optimal line here around that little obstacle and then get the best spin pound you can to leave this room. Very nice from Chaos. No bonks this time. We have seen one yesterday. Also, Nicro actually with a little bit more speed right there.
Sometimes you can maintain some very fast speed out of a roll cancel like that, and you are going to see Nicro kind of burst through the door, maybe saving a little bit of time.
Chaos actually getting a little bit of a ledge grab right there on that pillar, definitely losing him some more time, as both of them are going to be grabbing this moon very close. We are at like this 3-second threshold again, maybe even less. Oh, but Nicro losing his rolling speed there on those veggies. I have no idea. Why is there actually like an oyster?
There's like oysters in there.
Why?
It's very strange. There's also some like crawfish. It's very strange that there
guess.
are like some giant seafood creatures, considering most of them are vegetables.
Weird.
I don't actually want to know where these giant shrimp are living, because that would be
Born
terrifying.
in the Pepto-Bismol and molded by it.
Most likely. Definitely not a place you want to be swimming.
Okay, let's see this section though. This is the one I've been looking out for. Depending on how these guys actually play this next part, there might be a lead change again, but Chaos is getting that roll cancel and is actually going to be able to keep his speed all across that island. Nicro is going to have to opt for that long jump, for that dive instead. So maybe losing a little bit of time. Now Chaos does get the more optimal position here. He completely beat the Podoboo. It wasn't even out of the lava when he got there.
We got extremely solid stuff from Chaos.
Now, forks are always pretty big. You do want to get your motion controls right. Chaos actually spacing in 2 dives right there. Make it even closer, but is going to be missing that home in right there. Cappy not really cooperating, but still is alive. Still swinging through the stage, touching that moon here. Very, very, very clutch that he actually got this one. A death here is one of the biggest steps you can take. You have to go all the way back up.
Very risky stuff, but Chaos keeping it together, maintaining his composure, and able to make it work. And keeping his lead.
And we are heading into the turnip clip section. We have seen these guys with very, very good turnip clips, but if any race, this one is going to be very, very, very important to get a good turnip clip. We've seen these people with solid turnip positions overall, but sometimes you do have to readjust. But Nicro is actually going to be taking a bonk right here. But let's watch Chaos do turnip clip at the same time. He needs to get this position right. Nicro once again losing height there. I'm not sure what's exactly happening. Where's Chaos' turnip? It's completely off. It's on the right side of the cage, so he definitely has to readjust. If Nicro gets this position right, he might. I'm not sure if this turnip position will work. It looks decent enough. It's very close to the cage. Looks like Chaos will make this work. Okay, barely gets turnip clip to work. If Nicro gets a good throw here, though, he's not too far off. This looks close, but I think he could make it work. And I think he will.
That looks all right. So out of the forks room and into the turnip clip, a couple of different mistakes being seen here by both runners. Nicro taking a couple bonks and actually going to put himself just a little bit further behind as a result. But we are through the turnip clip. These guys get to take a little bit of a breather before this last part of luncheon and into the next kingdom.
Right, Chaos touching that Torch Moon at 26 seconds. I do think his lead might be as close as, yeah, looks like around 10 seconds. As Nico's touching this one at 36, so exactly 10 seconds, still in that threshold, even after Nick's 2 bongs. Obviously, Chaos not getting the turner position that he wanted, but we are still so close. Not sure if I like Nicro's camera here, something that he might be confident with, though. Yeah, he does get the dive just fine. And is also going to be able to end off his Kingdom. Man, what a ride this mid-game has been for real as we approach Ruined now.
What a ride this whole race has been. Basically just trading the lead back and forth. All sorts of very scary things happening. You know, Chaos could have actually thrown the lead back over to Nicro in that forks room, but keeping it together, keeping his composure, and actually able to come out with just a little bit more of an edge than he did in Snow and Seaside as a result.
And a breather is definitely needed here for these guys. They deserve a little bit of catch-up time after they went through this mid-game portion. Now Ruined is going to give them the chance to do so. It's also going to give us the chance to backtrack a little bit, maybe talk about some less intense topics than this race. There has been enough to talk about, for sure.
For sure.
But I'm actually going to be starting off that trash talk segment a little bit early, and I'm actually not even going to start with trash talk. Once again, reminding you guys at least once a day that you are able to actually contribute to the prize pools for these guys from your home. You might have seen those contribution counts actually slowly and surely climbing. Thank you very much, guys, for your support already towards those prize pools. If you donate, you can directly support these players and increase their winnings. You can also cheer bits to the Speedrun channel, and for every 500 bits, we as GSA will also provide $2 additionally for that prize pool. Same goes for a subscription. We will do the same for that.
Your typical $5 subscription, every time that you guys do that, $2 will be coming from GSA and being donated directly to the prize pool. And of course, you get some pretty swaggy emotes to go along with that. And I can't think of anything better, to be honest.
Yeah, these guys definitely deserve it. This has been a show, pretty much the show of the event so far. We probably had around like 6 lead changes. It stayed extremely close so far, and I really can't hope for anything but a super close photo finish for this one. And even though if this was a photo finish, we obviously have to keep in mind that Chaos is going to make the finals here, but I don't even care about the results anymore, especially for this race. I'm super excited for the finals tomorrow regardless, but I want to see how this race ends up.
Absolutely. Definitely a good matchup to watch. Now, if you remember from the actual league itself in the regular season, this match happened very early on in the season, and it was Nicro who took the win, very famously toppling Chaos in one of the very first matches of the league. So this could be Chaos's chance to kind of redeem himself, especially with a bit of surge of power going into the finals tomorrow.
Here we are on that second phase of the Dragon. Only one phase to go through for Chaos here. Nicro about to finish up that second phase as well, unplugs the swords and gets that hit in. Imagine actually talking about Ruined gameplay.
Here we are. Now, an interesting thing to note about 1.3, I think we need to kind of discuss this a little bit because of how much it actually means to this game and this community. So what do you think, LimQ? What kind of drastic changes is this going to bring to the speedrunning community of Super Mario Odyssey?
I mean, actually, my favorite part about that potential change of 1.3, the newest version actually being faster, would be that suddenly the most obtainable and easiest to get version would be the fastest, allowing us to potentially recombine all of the leaderboards to one big place for competition.
Absolutely.
Let's all join and compete for the throne. I think that would be the optimal world. That's the world I want to live in.
I absolutely agree with that. And you know, part of the conflict of having leaderboards and kind of arbitrary rules in the first place is that with different versions comes different rules and different ways of obtaining it. Makes it hard for some people to compete at the same level. So having the most obtainable version just be the fastest version helps everybody out in the long run.
Well, here we are at the end game section of this run. the BM section, the Bowser Moon section. Let's actually see Chaos's fade out here. We have been talking about those 13 minutes of Bowser Moon time being very solid. Chaos now with a 48.04 fade out. So even a 13-minute ruin would not be enough to get a 1:00 flat time, but you can certainly still get a very low 1 hour and 1 minute time. But Nicro is about on the same pace, and we are still looking at those around 10 to 12 seconds maybe.
Still a very tight gap. And, you know, all it really come down to, and even just this Bowser's Kingdom, is a couple of missteps, a couple of maybe bonks or unoptimal movement, and that's all it's going to take to bring Nicro back to the lead.
We're starting out strong here, obviously, on that first island. We have seen people sometimes lose some height here. Chaos barely making that dive, actually diving towards that electrical wire, which is faster. Having the confidence to go for something like this in this situation deserves some huge credit, in my opinion, and makes that work, gains the advantage, and gets the reward.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how these players react in a situation like this. You know, when you're behind, it might be in your best interest to kind of play a little bit riskier and try and take those risks to kind of maintain an error, get an edge rather, and make your way back in.
Nicro getting a bonk right there, but still able to ground pound the Ogre in time.
But Chaos with a little bit of a better line in that first part of Bowser's, I think, and being able to kind of bolster his lead a little bit going into the next shards portion.
Both of them technically on the same physical position right now, but Nicro obviously trapped for a little longer in these cutscenes since he did get there later. But let's see shards. Shards have been pretty big. We have seen very awesome shards though throughout this event. This took us a long time to fully figure out this dive back strat, especially. We used multiple strategies, especially also for this third shard, doing like a triple jump on the left side, now going for this strat instead. Has proven to be the fastest. There is a theoretical faster version of this in, I guess, section, where you can actually skip capturing this bird at all. Capturing obviously being a little slow since you go into these like zipline animations for a second, but that requires some pretty good maneuvering to actually make that bird kick the cannon into that block automatically. You basically bait the bird into poking you, jump away, and then the bird does it for you. Yeah,
it's as if you're playing a very strange game of like poker or of like pool or
exactly.
something. But it is very hard to set up, and you kind of have to maneuver Mario in a way that makes it happen. So not very RTA viable, especially not in a race. So you're just going to see these guys capture the bird in order to make that happen. Very, very clean Bowser Jam from Chaos there. No signs of slowing down. Nicro's going to have to follow suit.
Chaos looking down on the controller right there to actually assure that he's holding the right angle. You want to hold down right to get that instant dive going. Nicro this time getting the Bowser Jam immediately. Did have some issues with that yesterday, and Chaos once again obviously representing the top of first game, but Nicro is surely going to represent the Harriet first game here, so we have a race. Guys, this is, if anything, this is probably it.
Yeah, this is the defining moment, you guys. Harriet first, Topper first. Who will win?
Chaos obviously with a very solid Topper fight here. Harriet coming out from Nicro is going for those first-person hits. Harriet is the longer fight of the two.
So while they're both in the Harriet fight, obviously Chaos does still have a little bit of a lead as well.
Very good hits so far. No missed bombs. I don't think we have actually seen any missed bombs. Oh,
Commentators curse coming in strong today.
I'm sorry. That was actually perfect timing, though.
Excellent timing on that. Unfortunate for Nicro. He's going to be losing about 3 seconds there as a result.
Chaos getting that bomb in, though. It's going to be able to close out these fights. Now, Nicro still has to go through Topper, but Topper is done relatively quick. Especially if you compare it to the Harriet fight.
And just one more hit here. Landing on Topper's hat before he's even able to move. And then finishing off the last hit.
Right, but Chaos is already in that story moon screen. Let's see the fade out happening here at 52:17. This is going to give us another visual cue to judge their difference as Nicro is about to get there. Probably looking close to 20. A little bit less, I'd say, but relatively close. The first time we actually had that amount of difference, but with Mecha Brutal coming up and also Moon Kingdom, no lead is safe again. Yeah, looking at around these 20 seconds, a little bit less.
Chaos approaching the Robo Brutal first. Just has a little bit of this tricky movement here. Obviously a very scary jump over the top of this kind of giant chasm Has to be very careful to time his dives appropriately, but he does make it over.
And Pokyo climb starting up right now. Nicro is getting his angle right this time. We did see him fall there once in this event. Not suffering there anymore, and Chaos is making this climb work. Not having to spin the Pokyo unnecessarily. And it's going to make it up on top to the mech. This is going to be huge. We have seen Stravos in this last race actually struggle quite a bit on that initial climb. But there's a round the mistake that Chaos can't allow himself to make. But that would lose him exactly the time that he's leading by right now. He's going to be able to get this angle fine, gets that backflip onto the second part of the deck, and gets that spin point immediately hitting that first bubble.
Very clean climb from Chaos. Of course, the fight is not over yet. Does have to get this optimal second spin pound in, and then a little bit of a breather before the second part of the fight. Nicro, obviously the pressure is on to keep the pace.
Interesting camera angle from him, but does get that first bubble hit immediately. Lining up for the second one. Chaos at the same time about to prepare for his third hit, and then the hopeful target acquired one. Gets that first one without a problem. Is going to be making his way towards that line to line up for this last one. Gets a quick dive and does get the quick spin, but is very happy about this one and definitely deserved. Did practice this a lot when I was coming to the venue earlier.
Yep, had to make sure that he nailed this down because, you know, in a situation like this, they're literally only 20 seconds apart. And it could really come down to this.
Necro needs to hit this as well. Gets those quick dives and then target acquired again from both of them. Great stuff.
Yeah, they're both going to be very happy with their performance in Bowser's Kingdom here, and it is going to come down to Moon Kingdom, and like we've mentioned many times in the past, not the hardest kingdom to run through, but any mistake would be enough to change the lead in a heartbeat.
And there we go. This is going to stay extremely close. I'm not assuming that we did see any big changes here in that last section of Bowser's. Probably looking at slightly less or around 20 seconds. Which is a comfortable lead to deal with in Moon Kingdom. Losing 20 seconds in Moon is not necessarily something you see a lot, but we do have Moon Cave Skip, we do have that Bowser fight, and we have seen actually some, like more than expected, some missed Bowser head grabs.
And it's pretty easy to make those kinds of mistakes when the tensions are high. You know, when stakes are on the line, you can have those nerves really rise up in you, and even just those simple inputs can really kind of get away from you.
And if anything, this race would probably be around even if Nicro actually ended up getting that nut clip right there. This is probably around the time that's between those two players right now, and just shows how much it really matters that you're super warmed up at all of these tricks to perform as good as you can. But now going into Moon, the last section here. A kingdom that should last around a little bit more than 5 minutes on an optimal level, but looking at the entire game, there's some of the biggest potential time losses lurking there, especially at the ending, since those checkpoint flags here are so rare. Once again, that last checkpoint flag being set really actually the start of the escape. From there up until the very end, there's no single checkpoint flag, so if you die anywhere there, you will start at the start of escape again.
And same thing goes for this particular chunk of Moon Kingdom as well. We're going to be looking at this big vector jump over, and any death in this initial part going up to the cathedral sends you all the way back to the Odyssey, and really the gap between them is small enough that that's really all it would take to change the lead as well. So obviously going to be looking for a clean Moon Cave skip from both of these runners to avoid any huge time losses as well. Chaos being the first to approach.
I do really like the soundtrack here in Moon when those races are that tense. That music really like gives you chills when it's like a super close race. This calm before the storm really fits well here. Chaos getting that Moon Cave skip very nicely, is going to be able to space out his dive just right. This is something that he has also been practiced as I was coming to the venue, and is going well for him. Now making his way to the cathedral, and then only the Bowser fight and the escape section between him, and potentially going 3-0 here at pace if he is able to clutch it out and joining Stravos potentially in those finals. But Nicro still wants to prove a point. He might want to get this win, so if Chaos makes any mistake, he is going to take that shot to try to get that in.
Absolutely flawless from both of these runners in the initial part of Moon Kingdom, and the Bowser fight is up ahead. Now, of course, a death here would obviously be very unlikely and very unfortunate, but you would have to do the entire Bowser fight over again if that were the case.
But here we are, and now that Nicro is here, we are going to be getting that epic Bowser soundtrack as well. Shows the tension here on that last group stage race of Super Mario Odyssey PACE2019. Both of them in the Bowser fight, and Chaos now on that second head grab phase. This is the one that tends to be a little bit hard, but he does get rid of that head, makes it very safe, is able to get that head grab without a problem. That third one is scary though. That third one is the one where you could lose up to 12 seconds. Relatively easy and pretty lenient, but you cannot make a mistake of sloppiness. And Chaos actually has had some in this race.
NicroVeda missing the second phase of that fight, actually, as we say it. So he's going to have to back up and try again. So losing probably about 8 seconds as a result of that.
I'm not sure if he's going to reach Bowser. Oh, barely makes that work. That's definitely super clutch. At the end of the day, we still have an escape section to go through here from Chaos.
Just avoiding the tail swipes. One more final tail swipe from Bowser, punching him and finishing off the fight. Just an escape sequence, essentially, for Chaospringle to take this home.
Yep, and this is something that most of these runners do have down, but you will still definitely be in your head when it comes to this. This is the last race before those final games. Chaos now swiping his way through that section, about to approach that 2D section, which that's always the big one. Can fall there. Necro's done with the fight himself, so it's obviously easy to tell if there was any mistake by Chaos in that escape, Nicro would take the lead.
Yep, him being in the escape section himself now. Of course, it's always in the back of your mind that, just that one tiny mistake is all it takes to kind of throw the lead in the opposite direction.
And here we go, 2D section coming. Chaos gets the first jump, gets the second, and his third one is the big one, but not a problem for him. Makes that work easily.
Just traversing through the rest of the 2D section, and then he's home free into the pillar room. Pressure's on Nicro to obviously keep pace with him.
Chaos spacing out these fireballs just right. You do want to be at that wall as you approach it very nicely. Then now going into the pillar room, both of these guys have been proven to be extremely good at this room. But Chaos obviously in this very comfortable leading position.
Yeah, as long as there is no fall. Of course, we've seen some pretty traumatic things happen in this pillar room before, so we're going to be trying to avoid those. Those fireballs do look rather good. Getting it all in 5 shots and making his way through the rest of the pillar room.
And this is actually looking quite awesome. I was saying earlier how this might not be able to get another 1-0, but those pillars are looking smooth. Chaos gets that third pillar to fall. Now shooting this last one. It's going to be close. A 1-0 might still be on the table as this pillar is falling, and it looks like it's actually going to be 1-0, 5x something. Chaos clawing in onto that core, about to go 3-0 at this first PACE event. What a performance by this guy, really playing out of his mind. 3 1-0 times as he captures this last pole. About to end this run right now, and Chaos taking it 3-0, 1-0, 55, 3 1-0s. What a player, dude.
Marvelous stuff from Chaos. Extremely consistent. He has to be very happy about his performance here at PACE. The very first runner here to take all 3 of his sets in any game so far.
Let's not underestimate Nicro, though, who has had 3 extremely close races overall after maybe not playing as much, still hanging in there, still showing the competitive spirit. This probably the best race of the group stage, and now about to finish this one himself. 101, pretty low as well, getting it 101.24 for him. Good stuff by these guys. Amazing race.
Absolutely fantastic showing. And Nicro definitely cannot be understated. He was running very, very well himself, but just not able to edge out Chaos or any of his competitors in this one. So with that being said, Chaospringle going to be taking the first seed with 3 victories there and facing off against Stravos tomorrow.
3-0, this guy definitely took a big chunk of those points home, and he's going to be the first seed, obviously, going into the finals. Finals happening tomorrow, Chaospringle versus Stravos. We did see that matchup yesterday.
That is right.
Stravos, Chaos obviously taking the win. He did beat everyone, but it's obviously going to be a best of 3. So right. We'll see how that plays into effect. And actually, watching this specific race and talking with Stravos earlier, how he actually keeps pretty calm when he makes mistakes. That might be really interesting to kind of observe, because Chaos seemed to get a little nervous at the start of this one as he kept making some minor mistakes, and I'm not sure, maybe Stravos can edge him out there with the mindset.
You're absolutely right about that. You know, I think that while Chaos does have the consistency and he can kind of trust himself to always pull together for what he needs to do, it is all about that. It's all about keeping together. And when the mistakes start to happen, maybe Stravos just has the better mentality to kind of pull himself out of that tilt and be able to continue on. And that might just be what it takes to win tomorrow for Stravos. But we will have to find out. Of course, we have some more pace action coming your way tomorrow. We are going to have both of the runners come in for a little bit of an interview and have these guys talk about their experience here in this race.
Looks like Nick is making his way here too. I hope so. Yeah, this is it. This is it as well. I hope so. Get over here. Right, there we have them. Let's start with Chaos real quick, as he's already on the mic. This should be working though, Nick. Wait, can you grab like a chair? Can we like we can space this out somehow? We can space this out. Get in here.
No sound.
Huh? Okay, you got it. You should be on right now.
A little bit of physical difficulties with the headsets, but we do have them in here.
I can't.
All
There's
is
no
well.
Oh, there's no sound.
No.
That's gonna be an oak from me, dog.
That is
Okay,
gonna
I
be an
guess
oak from me, dog.
I guess we're gonna swap out. Like Nicro, get in here first, and then Chaos takes your mic. You can hear us,
I
right?
can hear you. Let's
Right?
do this.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll do.
good
Because
stuff.
I believe the microphone is working and maybe just not the headset part. So, yeah, we do have with us right here Chaos and Nicro after their race. We're going to start with Nicro, I think. So, what do you think kind of fell apart there? Why do you think that you were able to give up the final game against Chaos here?
Rainbow spins suck. And then like I tried to like cap bounce on the wall, and then that didn't work. Like yeah, the luncheon, like we were pretty synced like for a lot of mid game.
Absolutely.
And that I kind of felt that like whoever fell apart like first, I guess, or whoever made like a decent sized mistake, it would have definitely like turned the tides.
Yeah.
For sure. I think wait, no, I can't hear myself anymore. Whatever. I feel like this was definitely probably the most exciting race to watch so far. I'm sure we were able to kind of observe chat. They were going wild. Obviously, unfortunate stuff in luncheon, but for you missing nut clip there, this was as close as we could have imagined.
Yeah.
Like for sure, I think you played pretty
Yeah,
well.
I think that was my first nut clip miss in like the league.
The league, yeah, I think you were at
think you're
100%
probably right.
Before, so 100% on that stat card. But yeah, 3 close races. Obviously, Chaos and Stravos are going to be making it into the finals tomorrow, playing for the big boy money.
That's right.
Ooh. So what do you think? You already obviously had that matchup yesterday. Can you beat Stravos? Can you do it? Best of 3?
Yeah. Stravos is going down.
Oh!
Strav's low-key popping off though.
He is. When he's like on stage, he's like in the zone, dude.
Yeah, he's putting in the hours. Like, he's up every day, like early, getting in the practice, you know.
Really
pretty
putting in the
cool.
concentrated effort, and you know, like he might have the worst PB out of the 4 people in these top 4, but that doesn't mean that he can be underestimated. His consistency is one of the best when it comes to races, so you will have your work cut out for you, I think, in these upcoming matches. But tell me what your mindset's going to be like. What is got to be different from now until tomorrow to really drive the wins home?
Well, I don't know. Well, I mean, this race,
Pop
like,
off, dude.
yeah,
Just win. I think just win. That will work.
I think you just got to win.
I feel like at the start of this race, like, I was getting really mad over like little mistakes, and then I just stopped and like just focused on the race,
Yeah.
and like didn't really care about the pace, and I think that helped me a lot.
That was
Absolutely.
definitely noticeable. Something that Stravos seems to have under control pretty well. I was talking about with him about that earlier in that other interview, but I feel like if you get that under control, you might just have a little bit of more muscle memory, more grind in there. It's definitely going to be close, guys. I think it is time for us to go on to another intermission. SM64 coming up soon. The Odyssey boys are signing out for the day. Probably going to get some dinner. That was a plan, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Let's go. All right, guys. See you tomorrow for the finals. Thank you for tuning in for Odyssey, and have fun with SM64.
Take care.